Hello there. Today I'm going to do a poetry reading. Now, if you have seen the YouTube short, I recently did a poetry reading of El Dorado by Edgar Allan Poe. Now, since it is October, I'll follow that strain of readings and I will continue into the Edgar Allan Poe. Today I will be reading The Raven. Now, if this series does well, I will consider reading some works from either other authors or even some of my own. But right now I'm going to stick with Edgar Allan Poe, just as a test to see if this works, and because copyright laws are weird and I don't really want to mess with those just yet. Anyways, let us begin and start off this spooky month the right way. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten love, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of some one gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door, "only this and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak of December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here evermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," I said, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was but the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore!" Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard the tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," I said, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what that is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, and with many flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least abstinence made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Thou thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in the one word he did abhor. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, Other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, Nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, I said, what it utters is only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, who on merciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of nevermore. But the raven still beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of the bird, and bust and door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghast gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, that the lamplight gloated over, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grow denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God has lent thee by these angels, he has sent thee respite, requite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this nepentine, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Prophet, I said, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on his home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Prophet, I said, thing of evil, prophet still, bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by the God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whose the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Be that word or sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting, get thee back into thy tempest, and the night Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of thy lie soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy break from out my heart, and take thy form from up my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never fitting, still sitting on that pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamp light o'er him streaming through his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. Thank you. That was a reading from The Raven. Now, if you would like to hear any specific poems by Edgar Allan Poe or anyone else, let me know in the comments. I plan on, if this video gets at least 100 views, I might start releasing some of my own works. I've got a little stockpile of them. They're not as long as any of Edgar Allan's works. I mean, the longest one probably comparable to El Dorado. But I think it'd be good to get them out there, but I want to know that there's an audience first for this stuff. Now, have a wonderfully spooky October. And maybe, just maybe, if I find the time, I'll release another one during this chillingly frightening month. Or maybe there shall be nevermore. Peace out.